What if everything you've been told about government budget cuts is just political theater, and the real work is finally being done behind the scenes? In a fiery congressional moment that Democrats allegedly tried to bury, Marjorie Taylor Greene drops a bombshell video revealing how past presidents talked about cutting waste, while only Trump, backed by Elon Musk's Doge initiative, is actually doing it. From Reagan to Biden, promises of leaner government have come and gone, but now, entire agencies are being streamlined, thousands of bloated contracts axed, and over 75,000 federal employees shown the door. Is this the bold reset America's government desperately needed, or just another partisan power play? Stay with us as we dig through the facts, the history, and the outrage.
Hey y'all, and welcome to PolitiBrawl. My name is Brian, and Marjorie Taylor Greene shows a video in front of Congress that Democrats really don't want you to see. Let's dive in.
Good morning and welcome to today's hearing. I would like to begin by showing a video of what Doge is all about.
We know and we have worked to give the American people a smaller, less bureaucratic government in Washington. And we have to give the American people one that lives within its means. The era of big government is over.
The steps we're taking today will save the American taxpayers $9 billion. And ordered federal agencies to cut billions of dollars in administrative costs and to trim 100,000 federal positions by attrition.
This report tells us how to cut waste, cut red tape, streamline the bureaucracy, change procurement rules, change the personnel rules, and create a government that works better and costs less. We'll consolidate departments. We'll get rid of duplicate departments. We'll allow competition to bring about better service at lower cost. We can downsize government by 12%, reducing the bureaucracy by 252,000 positions.
Everyone knows that getting rid of the deficit will require some tough decisions. And that includes cutting back on billions of dollars in programs that a lot of people care about. But what should be easy is getting rid of the pointless waste and stupid spending that doesn't benefit anybody. You're paying for thousands of buildings all across the country no one uses. Now, the government hadn't been able to sell this building and others like it because of red tape.
We thought that it was entirely appropriate for our governments and our agencies to try to root out waste, large and small, in a systematic way. And in September, Joe convened the cabinet and has really pushed them hard in finding savings across all our agencies.
We need to step up our game. We need to go after every dime. We need to make government work for you. That's why, starting today, I've asked the Vice President to lead a renewed effort to hunt down misspent tax dollars in every agency and department of this government.
We're not just eliminating fraud and waste. We hope to be instilling an entire new culture that not only our administration, but every succeeding administration will in fact pursue. We're going to give you the government you expect and deserve.
I certainly wish that my Democrat colleagues felt the same as their former Democrat leaders felt and worked to try to reduce our deficit and reduce the size of our government. Unfortunately, these former Democrat leaders failed at what they were saying they were trying to do. But today's Doge and Doge subcommittee is actually delivering on those exact promises, and we are delivering the results. It's too bad that my Democrat colleagues constantly mock Doge, attack Doge, criticize Doge, and criticize the hardworking people in Doge. They also attack this committee and attack what we're all about. But that's today's Democrat Party. They're for big government, big spending, and doing nothing for the American people. They're America last. This subcommittee has highlighted where Doge has staunched the flow of waste, fraud, and abuse in federal spending. Doge drove the administration to turn off the spending faucet that was pouring out billions of dollars to corrupt anti-American NGOs, to illegal DEI programs, and to a vast array of wasteful, unnecessary federal grants, contracts, leases, and personnel. President Trump drove this massive effort by creating Doge via executive order on Inauguration Day. He then issued a series of White House directives empowering DOGE teams to work with agency leaders government-wide in an unprecedented effort to root out wasteful spending using all means at their disposal. And that effort has borne fruit. The DOGE website identifies $180 billion in savings achieved in just a matter of months. We need to make sure we lock in those savings. It should be the first installment we pay on our nation's 37.
In a charged and ideologically intense segment from Brian on Polit, the video centers around Marjorie Taylor Greene showcasing a controversial clip during a congressional hearing, a video Democrats, according to her, are desperate to suppress. The footage contains archival statements from former Democratic leaders like Bill Clinton, Barack Obama, and Joe Biden, all acknowledging the need to cut government waste and reduce bureaucracy. Yet, ironically, the narrative accuses them of doing the opposite when actually in power. Brian's monologue walks viewers through a sweeping historical lens starting from
$1 trillion debt. We need to tackle that debt on behalf of our children and future generations. That's why Congress needs to act. DOGE has shown how our government can cost less and deliver more. It's shown how we can turn off the faucet. It's shown we don't need to spend all the dollars that Congress appropriated for this year. Congress can reverse that unnecessary spending by rescinding dollars it's appropriated. That's why the administration recently sent a $9 billion rescission request to Congress. By the way, you just saw Democrats on that video talking about saving $9 billion. Republicans just delivered on that.
And thanks to Trump and Musk, the Republicans have delivered on this promise to eliminate as much waste, fraud, and abuse as they legally can. They've done a fantastic job so far. Elon Musk did a great job setting up Doge, and I hope something like that is here to stay. But for order for this video to make full sense, we gotta take a couple of trips down memory lane. As a matter of fact, we gotta go from before the video that Marjorie Taylor Greene showed. We have to go all the way back to Ronald Reagan. During the 1980s, Republicans and Democrats started realizing that the New Deal and the Great Society weren't really working. As a matter of fact, they might be making the poverty issues even worse by basically incentivizing it and giving it a guaranteed platform where it's just enough to stay and survive without ever having to change anything about yourself. And so even the Democrats worked with Ronald Reagan in order to cut back on some of those policies and even open up the economy to a different kind of spending that is raising the cap on how much money can be loaned out from banks, and that caused a stock market rise like we've never seen before. That is until about 30 years.
Ronald Reagan's presidency, explaining how both Republicans and moderate Democrats have long debated the need for smaller government and fiscal restraint. Reagan's push to reduce the scope of the New Deal and Great Society programs created a foundation for future reform efforts. Clinton, forced to the center after the 1994 Gingrich Revolution, did implement cuts to the federal workforce but ultimately expanded government power in other ways. Obama, too, though initially positioning himself as a reformer, preserved many Republican tax policies while expanding federal programs through efforts like the ACA. Biden, similarly, has been framed as continuing the trend of saying one thing and doing another, calling for efficiency while ballooning government scope. In contrast, the video claims that Donald Trump, with help from Elon Musk and his DOGE initiative, the Department of Government Efficiency, has gone further than any modern leader in identifying and cutting unnecessary
later during the Trump administration. And then under Bill Clinton, after 2 years, only 2 years, where he tried to run to the left, because you had Ross Perot in this weird middle section, you had Herbert Walker Bush over on the right. Bill Clinton tried to run to the left, and it got him elected, but the backlash was so bad in '94 that the Newt Gingrich Revolution forced Bill Clinton to the table. With that same fervor of the Reagan Revolution, you had the Newt Gingrich Revolution and forced him back to the middle, to the moderate stage. Then the Bush tax cuts happened in the next presidency, and Barack Obama, even though he ran on this idea of hope and change, tried to pass through a whole bunch of left-leaning policies as early as he could, and with the American people realizing what was in the ACA, the Tea Party movement was born. And thus, Barack Obama was trying to move to the middle once again in this video, saying that, yeah, we probably need to cut out the government waste. Well, guess what? Donald Trump then gets into office, continues a new version of the Bush tax cuts that were even better, and Barack Obama, who kept the Bush tax cuts, even told Joe Biden while he was in office to do the same thing. Here's just the weird problem in all three of these Democrats I just mentioned. Bill Clinton increased the size and scope of the government, even though he cut 377,000 jobs. Barack Obama continued to increase the size and scope of the federal government, and it got even weirder.
Federal contracts, trimming agency bloat, and launching a sweeping audit of inefficiencies. According to Bryan, 75,000 federal employees resigned or were fired under a deferred resignation initiative, while billions in contracts were cancelled or restructured. The claim is that DOJ has already saved $180 billion, offering a model that is not merely about symbolic cuts but about deep structural reform. The broader critique here is that Democrats use rhetoric about waste reduction.
After 2014, Joe Biden did the exact same thing. Donald Trump, however, has, instead of just cutting taxes here and there like Republicans have done in the past, has gone even farther. And what he hasn't done is just fire federal employees like Bill Clinton promised to do. This is what he did instead. A month into the second Trump administration, those changes are already happening. Some 75,000 federal government employees have agreed to quit under a deferred resignation program, and tens of thousands have been fired. This isn't the same vein as the Bill Clinton administration, which only saved a couple of $1 billion but got us back in the red. What Trump has done is that he, thanks to Elon Musk's bidding and beckoning, has just identified all of these unnecessary contracts, even Barack Obama,
but lack the political will or ideological commitment to follow through, favoring, instead, policies akin to FDR's New Deal or LBJ's Great Society, which allegedly keep people dependent on government support. The video paints DOJ not just as a Trump policy success but as an existential threat to the democratic political model, which explains why, according to Bryan, they are so adamantly against it. He argues that Democrats are not merely resisting the program, they are terrified of the precedent it sets, one where massive
sort of brought this up in that video you saw, but now we're cutting contracts that are completely unnecessary and arguably detrimental to the American people. That's the extra step that we've been taking. So the Democrats you saw in this video that MTG brought to the forefront specifically only dealt with a little cut here and a little cut here, a little cut there. But under the Trump administration, it has been, let's not take a chainsaw, but we can definitely do some liposuction. And the American government is now looking slimmer than it has in a long time. Now, we still have a lot of work to do, and that's the big debate around the big, beautiful bill. And we've got some reforms that need to happen. We've got to better secure our southern border. We've got to re-beef up our military. There's a reason that the B-2 bombers are still successful, even though they've been around since 1988. We do have some reforms that need to happen. But ultimately, the DOJ department...
Government reform is not only possible but politically successful. Bryan presents this as a battle between two visions of America, one of bloated bureaucracy and endless spending, and another of streamlined efficiency and taxpayer accountability. The solution, as proposed in this monologue, is not incremental reform, but an aggressive, unapologetic teardown of wasteful systems, starting with the institutionalization.
The Department of Government Efficiency is working its magic right now, and the Democrats are running scared. They do not want to admit this video exists. They do not want to admit that they've been playing patty cake with the federal deficit by basically saying, oh, we'll slash some jobs this time. Oh, we'll cut some waste here, but we'll really let the thing grow to be this behemoth. Because deep down, they want to bring back the FDR-style New Deal. They want to bring back the Great Society, and they can't look themselves in the mirror and admit that these policies do not work here in the United States. But let me know what you think they're actually doing down in the comments below. My name is Brian. I think Marjorie Taylor Greene has put together a great video here and a great rebuttal to the natural Democrat talking points that are trying to muddy the waters as best they can. I hope you enjoyed that segment here on PoliticalBrawl. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Catch you on the next one. Until then, y'all have a good one.
Of DOJ, the reallocation of unnecessary funding, and a renewed national debate about the true role of government. For Bryan, the only way to ensure long-term fiscal stability and restore trust in governance is to confront the uncomfortable reality that many federal programs are outdated, redundant, or ideologically driven. He ends by urging Americans to stay informed, speak up, and push for a future where government efficiency isn't just a campaign promise, but a lived reality.